Hey guys, it is me, Jacqueline, for today's video. I have a non-spoilery trilogy review for the Winner's Trilogy by Marie Rutkoski. This is a YA fantasy trilogy that involves 3 books. First is The Winner's Curse. The second book in the trilogy is The Winner's Crime. And the third book in the trilogy is The Winner's Kiss. The Winner's Kiss, the finale in this trilogy, just came out this year in March. This is personally one of my all-time favorite trilogies. I gave every single one of these books a 5 out of 5 stars. I honestly don't know why it is taking me so long to do this review video, but let's get right into it. So since this is a trilogy review, I'm going to say a quick synopsis for the first book, which is The Winner's Curse, just in case if you haven't actually heard of this trilogy or don't even know what this trilogy is about. This is going to be a little bit of a summary for you. In this book, we follow the governor's daughter named Kestrel, and Kestrel has 2 choices: either get married or join the military. And actually one day when she's going through the marketplace, she sees a slave auction, actually decides to bid on a slave, and that slave's name is Aaron. From then we see as these 2 characters kind of grow, and as we see the world develop and build, different political aspects come into play and everything like that. But I think overall that is a great summary, and I don't really want to say anything else because things happen, things develop, and I think it's just good to know just that. I know that is a really sucky summary, but like I said, things do develop, so if I said anything more for the summary, it could be borderline spoilery. One of the things I most love about this trilogy is the characters. I love throughout the whole entire novels we got to see the characters grow and develop, and these characters are some of my personal favorites. First, starting off with Kestrel, she is one of my all-time favorite female heroines. I think what I love about Kestrel so much is how intelligent she was. She's very different from other female heroines that we typically see, and especially YA novels. I feel like a lot of YA female novels are supposed to be very physically strong, but Kestrel on the other hand is mentally strong, which I absolutely love that about her. She's very courageous and she's so strong-willed. She has such a big heart, and I think that's what I loved most about her character was as the series grew and developed, she changed, but she still stuck to who she truly was, which is a good thing because I think character development is a great thing, but when a character completely does something out of their element, I almost feel sort of shell-shocked. But for Kestrel, she was very herself through this whole entire series, and even though she developed, I think she developed in such a beautiful way. The other character I have to mention that is a huge important part of this series is obviously Aaron. I did mention him quickly in the summary, and Aaron is a very complex character. I love how strong and loyal and determined he was, and I love throughout the whole entire series we got to see him develop and how we got to see him connect with specifically Kestrel, but overall how we got to see how his character grew. I thought it was so great. One thing that is very important to know about this series, it is very politically driven, which I personally adored. I love that aspect, but I know some people aren't really into that, so if you aren't into that, just know that it is very politically driven. If you love that stuff, definitely pick this up. Another thing I absolutely loved about this series was the world building. It was so well developed, and I love that. I really appreciate that. I love the fact we got to see the whole entire picture, and how everything sort of happened throughout this series I thought made sense. I thought the direction made sense. I was trying to think which book is my favorite in this series, and that was honestly so hard to do. So I do have to say I think it's tied between The Winner's Crime and The Winner's Kiss. I think The Winner's Crime for me was so amazing because it didn't have any second book issues that I usually see when it comes to trilogies. I find the second book is the most lacking in a trilogy, but this did not do that, and it was so beautiful. I love The Winner's Kiss for almost a similar reason, just because for finales I feel like they are so hard to do when it comes to trilogies. Sometimes for me personally I'm always left wanting more, and this was one of the most perfect finales I have ever read. I absolutely adored it. Everything I wanted and more happened. I think this is such a perfect trilogy because for me I'm always very cautious with trilogies, but this one is so well developed. So if you're looking for like a good well-rounded trilogy, this is definitely one that you should pick up. The next thing I want to mention is the romance, which is another one of my favorite things. I love the romance throughout this series. It's one of my favorites because it's so natural and it's not forced. Everything happens for a reason, and it just made sense. And I love the 2 characters separately, but I also adore them together. For me personally, I think The Winner's Kiss showcased Marie Rutkoski's best writing, but this whole entire series has phenomenal writing. Marie Rutkoski, I am so excited to see her other books whenever she does come out with something else, because I will definitely support her since she has made one of my all-time favorites favorite trilogies, so I can't wait to see what else she comes out with. I do have another one of her books that I have to read because, like I said, I love this trilogy and I want to see what else she can come up with. Then the last thing I wanted to mention was plot. I think throughout the whole entire series there were so many twists and turns and so many unique aspects thrown in our direction, which I so very much appreciate. It made something very refreshed and new, and I just wasn't expecting certain things, but I appreciated how things developed, you know what I mean? And specifically with this book, this actually left me with the worst book hangover because I so badly needed the third book in this trilogy and it was such a long wait, but it was so well worth it. Overall, if you have not picked up this trilogy, I would highly recommend it. It is one of my ultimate favorites. If you have picked this trilogy up, let me know in the comments down below what you thought of it, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!